More often than not, the NBA draft has always been a game of hit or miss. We've seen the careers of top overall selections like Kwame Brown or Anthony Bennett go down the drain, while there have been second-round steals like Manu Ginobili and Nikola Jokic who turned out to be franchise cornerstones for the teams who were savvy enough to spot their talents at the tail end of the draft. Well, the thing is, there's no proven way to determine who the best players in a certain draft class are. Even in the recently concluded 2020 draft, the battle for the number 1 overall pick was seen as a tight race between LaMelo Ball, James Wiseman, and Anthony Edwards, as there was no clear-cut best player identified by NBA scouts during the draft build-up. But it's definitely a different story for a 2021 edition of the draft. Oklahoma State's 6'7" point guard Cade Cunningham seems to be the consensus best player of his class. And by the looks of it, provided that there's no major flaw that scouts can directly identify with this game, he's primed to hear his name called first come draft night. But still, there are those who believe that another extremely talented wing prospect who happens to be Jalen Green from the G League Ignite has the credentials to overtake Cunningham one way or another. Well, one thing is for sure, these two are the most decorated recruits of this draft class, but what's interesting is how they each have contrasting cases to make for NBA teams looking for the best talent in 2021. Cade Cunningham presents himself as the face of the Big 12 and the entire world of college basketball, while Jalen Green represents a collective of NBA hopefuls looking for a chance to make it big through an alternative venue for development in the G League. Basically, this year's draft will be headlined by two different routes by two high-profile prospects with one goal of becoming the number 1 overall pick. So what's good guys, it's Rira Balls here, and today we're going to look into the specific cases of Cade Cunningham and Jalen Green as they finalize their addition to become the face of the 2021 NBA draft. Let's get to it. Before we go any further, I think we need to take a peek into other players who will most likely come close enough in mock drafts in trying to take the number 1 spot this year. Well, first, there's Jalen Suggs. Gonzaga's 6'4" do-it-all point guard has taken the world of college basketball by storm as he seems to be the most physical rim attacker among all point guards in this draft class, while showing no real major flaw in his game as well. In 9 games for Gonzaga this season, Suggs has been on an absolute tear, shooting above 50% from the field and 43% on 3-pointers. He plays really fast but is still able to make the right decisions on both ends of the floor most of the time, so he'll be a guy to watch out for in the months leading to the draft, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him being picked higher than most people expect. Then there's also Evan Mobley, a 7-foot stretch 4 from USC, who I think represents what a big man should be like in the modern NBA. This guy can basically be used both as a rim runner or as a post threat because he has the physical profile and skill to do it all. He can score at the rim, he can hit 3-pointers, he can block shots, and what separates him from other young big men from his class is his very advanced feel for the game. I think he's the best big man prospect in this year's draft, and it will definitely be fun to watch him make a case for the top pick as well. But so much for that, let's now dive into Cade Cunningham as the guy is still the best player in the draft class, and his dominance as the top 1-and-done prospect of 2021 goes well historically. While the last 10 number 1 overall picks were all 1-and-done NCAA players, this includes Ben Simmons, John Wall, Kyrie Irving, and Zion Williamson, and among those past 10 top overall picks, 4 of them were point guards. Also, most 1-and-done number 1 overall selections had great NCAA success stories. Anthony Davis won a national title in Kentucky. Zion Williamson won the National Player of the Year award while being one of the most hyped college athletes in recent years. And even Ben Simmons, who had quite a rough basketball season at LSU, had ripped individual success and was still a consensus All-American. So you can see that right from the get-go, there is historical precedence when trying to predict Cade Cunningham's trajectory as he enters the pros. But why has this guy been dubbed by draft scouts as one of the best young talents to emerge in America's prep circuit? And what actually makes him a great prospect for modern basketball? Well, basically, he fits the mold of oversized playmakers and primary offensive initiators that currently dominate the NBA. This guy has the skills and the physical tools that would pass the eye test for NBA scouts with just one look. Cunningham is a 6'7" point guard with a 7-foot wingspan whose ball handling, passing, and defensive skills are quite excellent for a 19-year-old. Not to mention that he scores in a variety of ways, he knows how to finish through contact, and he has a great feel for the game. And for him to be the first NBA hopeful to be directly compared to Luka Doncic, scouts must really have seen the controlled yet dynamic nature of his game. And what's more interesting is that Cade started out playing as a small forward for most of his prep career before he transitioned to playing the lead guard role to further take advantage of his frame, and this might explain his well-inclined acumen for scoring. Well, Cade is a product of basketball powerhouse Montverde Academy in Florida, a school which produced studs like Ben Simmons, RJ Barrett, and D'Angelo Russell among others. And during his senior season, Cunningham showed how much of a force he was as he averaged 14 points, more than 6 assists, and more than 6 boards per game while leading Montverde to a perfect 25-0 record for the season. Also, his team's average margin of victory was 39 points per game. So even as a high schooler, this guy proved that he's able to be a team's main anchor. And it's worth noting that during his senior year, Cunningham only played an average of 22 minutes per game because this Montverde team was really stacked with depth, as it also featured other top recruits like Scotty Barnes and Dayron Sharp. Still, it was Cunningham who was the face of this team and was the guy who really drew the eye of top college programs because of his elite physical profile and advanced basketball skills. And at the end of his high school career, Cunningham was named as Max Prep's National Player of the Year as well. And so far, after 10 games as Oklahoma State's star point guard, Cade's talent has been on full display more than ever. He has been averaging 19 points on 46% shooting from the field, and throughout the college basketball season, Cade's strong finishing ability and mobile shooting makes him look like a more than ideal point guard in the modern NBA. He has been amazing at getting to the rim so far, as he has shot 51% on 2-point field goals. Well, the NBA is a whole different league, but just by looking at Cade's proficiency with the pick and roll, which is the most commonly used play in today's NBA, the guy looks more than good to go, as he has produced 1.26 points per possession as a pick and roll ball handler in Oklahoma State. And it's also in this play where he has generated almost 30% of his points. And combine that with his 37% shooting from deep, and you'll understand why he's seen as one of the most prized college prospects in recent drafts. But if there's someone who can pose a challenge to Cade Cunningham and his controlled style of play, it's definitely a guy like Jalen Green, who brings a very intriguing combination of skill, physical tools, and a very high ceiling to his game, which is very hard to pass on as well. Well, there's no doubt that Green is an amazing talent. That's why he's ranked by ESPN as the #1 prospect in his class. Also, this guy has developed a huge cult following on social media going back to his high school days because of his absurd speed and elite explosiveness. And I don't think it's a reach to say that he can at least make a case to become the top overall pick in this year's draft as well. Basically, Green can do a little bit of everything in the court. He already knows how to score in a variety of ways. His elite athleticism allows him to explode to the rim, but he can do damage in the perimeter as well. During his senior year in prolific prep, he was flat out dominant as he averaged 31.5 points, 7.5 boards, and 5 assists per game. And after his senior year, he was named the Sports Illustrated's Player of the Year while making the Max Prep's All-American First Team as well. Watching Jalen Green, you'll notice that scoring just comes almost naturally to him. He may not be the best shooter as of the moment, but he has already shown in the past that he can be a prolific scorer. He's still a streaky guy, but if he becomes more consistent with his outside shot, I think he'll be a top 5 player in the NBA one day, no question. Well, his style of play will most definitely command everyone's attention, and a lot of fans have been quite confident in comparing him to a young Kobe Bryant. But I think it's quite hard to say how that comparison plays right now. But as of the moment, he kinda reminds me of Zach LaVine with the way that he's able to attack the basket seamlessly and how he's able to get hot while scoring on almost everywhere on the floor in spurts. But more than his prolific scoring ability, I think he has the potential to be a great two-way player as well. Green has the body of a typical NBA wing. His 6'7.5" wingspan allows him to be a legit two-way threat as he can be very disruptive on defense. And looking at him, you'll notice that his body is kinda wiry, but he seems to have the strength to be able to keep up on defense most of the time. Ultimately, it will be exciting how he will be able to translate his jaw-dropping kind of game in an NBA setting. Well, the thing is, if there's going to be a problem for Jalen Green, it's not his talent, but the visibility of his talent leading into the draft. Because most definitely, Green would have had tons more exposure if he opted to play in the college level. But if you look at it, scouts will still most likely see the appeal of a young guy grinding it out against mostly NBA-ready prospects in the G League. And I think even if Jalen doesn't put up the kind of monster numbers that Cade puts up in Oklahoma State, context will still be the key in scouting him, considering that he'll be sharing the floor with other highly ranked prospects in his team, like Jonathan Kuminga, Daishen Nix, Isaiah Todd, and Sotto. Ultimately, this guy will still benefit from playing in a tough and physical G League environment full of grown men where he'll have a full season to fully prepare for the NBA. Well, so far, Cade Cunningham is perfectly set up to be the #1 pick in this year's draft. He's already established himself as a nationally relevant athlete. Well, Jalen Green is on an advantage monetarily because he gets paid in the G League, but his relevance may die down one way or another because of less exposure no matter how talented he is. Well, the draft isn't a popularity contest, but ultimately, popularity still influences the people involved in the selection process. Well, whatever happens, Jalen Green is already the first of his generation to take the G League route. out. And his potential success in the NBA will definitely influence scouts to consider looking more into the mature competition that such a league provides compared to what college basketball offers. Ultimately, I think Cade Cunningham still has more polish to his game at this stage. He's just that complete of a player right now, but considering that the G League season hasn't started yet, the possibility of Jalen Green blowing us away with his play will always be there. But in the end, whoever ends up to be the number one pick, whether it be one of them or another player, Cade Cunningham and Jalen Green are already NBA stars in the making, and they will most definitely change the course of any team who's lucky enough to select them. Thank you for sticking until the end of the video, and if you had to choose, who among these two guys would you rather have on your team? Feel free to drop your thoughts in the comment section below, and also if you've enjoyed this one, please do smash the like button and subscribe to the channel as well. Again, this is Rero Balls, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.